And mobile is a big part of it, because ultimately, we're trying to, I'll get into it, we're trying to get to the whole workflow of how you can sell tickets, send an email, and then ultimately, the host can authenticate the ticket with, again, an iPhone or an Android phone. So we're trying to use technology every way we can to make it as available as possible to as many venue operators as possible.
Yeah, there's one other market that you haven't mentioned that might be a developing market. I host some video potluck nights where I have a big screen and I have about 20 people who come over, and I have a meetup group of their film fans. And there may be other people who have these large screens and want to invite a few people, host an event.
Yeah, I'd love to do it. I sort of, on this document right here, laid out about 900,000 venues that could potentially be used as virtual cinemas, if the operators are into it. Religious centers, restaurants, bars, cafes, and then K through 12 schools, which is our main focus right now. So it's right now, because we're self-funded, we're kind of working from, not even the top down, but in terms of where we could have some impact. And I could talk about some of the results too, but ultimately, this technology should be out there that if somebody wants to get access to a certain film and then sell tickets, like some guy with just a projector can make this his own business. So ultimately, our platform allows you to create the event, get the license rights, and then sell tickets, and then have the entire workflow to support that. The other thing that it affords us to do is that this is ultimately the best way to reach a long tail audience that, for each cultural center, if it's French or any ethnic group, they have cultural centers. Families, children, spiritual, ethnic, gay, seniors, political. Ultimately, you can use the web and technology to reach specialty groups and then ultimately translate that back into a physical brick and mortar place where they might re-congregate. And again, just thinking about colleges, like, how many student groups are around colleges where ultimately you can reach each of these long-tail groups. So our platform, what we have been working on is a number of things. So the digital distribution, so ultimately the film is uploaded into a DRM protected environment and manages the licensing and the IP protection of that film. We are building some tools for social network marketing. Ultimately, the way I see social network marketing is that you need Facebook, you need Twitter, but to me those are all branches off of the main trunk that ultimately you want to use those to communicate to disparate audiences, but you need to drive a central core message and have some call to action, which ultimately in this model is, buy some movie tickets or or demand a movie if it's not in your neighborhood yet. I mentioned the electronic ticketing and sales, event scheduling, the demand this crowdsourcing like Eventful. One twist on that is, show your money where your mouth is. If you love it, buy the ticket now and we'll tell you when the event comes. So ultimately, forward loading the ticket sales. And one cool thing that we've done also is like Q&A webcasts. So trying to, in the spirit of the festivals, why not have the director available for live webcast Q&A after the screening event. That's one of the things that we're working on with Romulus right now. Perfect fit, just synergy right there. He is producing a children's film, G-rated. I'm working right now primarily with K through 5 schools, and then working my way up. And if he comes in with the dog doing tricks, I mean, say no more. I think that the kids are going to eat that up. And then we also have SMS, so people can text in questions, and the text goes back to the filmmaker and then talk in the webcast and answer questions. We also have a module for fundraising, so you show a documentary about the slaughter of dolphins, and then at the end there's a call to action. Here right now, use your mobile phone and pledge a donation towards a certain nonprofit. So binding the nonprofit causes with the film. Any thoughts, questions?
Sorry, Cal, I got a couple more for you. I'm torn. I'm in the middle because I'm here at the seminar as a producer, but I've spent 30 years working as a stuntman and actor at Screen Actors Guild. So I'm wondering, my first question is, how does Cinegogo still allow talent, whether they're actors, singers, or dancers or whatever, to still get royalties from your model? And I mean, obviously it's going to cut down the amount of royalties that they get. And then I'll remember the other question why you addressed that.
Okay, so we don't take it to that level of granularity, that ultimately our financial transaction is with the rights holder. So I can go into like just the brass tacks of how we do it now. So we sub-license films that are usually from the studios, so there's a screening fee. And then that screening fee goes to the rights holder, who's then responsible for the next layer of payments.
Okay.
So,
I can answer that.
okay.
Screen Actors Guild has a contract that covers every possible means of distribution, and it's generally a flat payment
Right.
that would entitle you to screen the film in this manner, or to television, to movies, to digital, to the internet, and so that's all taken care of in the contract with the producer.
Sure. Unfortunately, as you know, Screen Actors Guild is so far behind in their negotiations
Not
that.
only that, but I did Callaway golf spots for 8 years, and you never know. It's very, very difficult to track.
Right.
I had friends that were television commercial actors and stuff, and they do TV commercials, and they'd hear their cousin would call them and say, "Hey, I saw you on a local spot here." What?
Yeah.
And they would have to track it down themselves and go back to get it paid. And what really needs to happen is there needed to be a code number on everything that went out to the station. There needed to be a computerized tracking system of all the commercials and things that went out. But that will be addressed. You can rest assured that SAG is very concerned about that, and that it's a big issue.
It's the same problem Metallica presented years ago when Morpheus and Kazaa and iTunes were all becoming popular, and they were worried about their royalty
Yeah.
payments.
I have a question for anyone on the panel that feels qualified to answer. When you're budgeting for a film, we're in pre-production now, budgeting, we could shoot this film for $200,000, but $1 million would be nice, okay? Somewhere in between $200,000 and $1 million is an optimal price for attracting investors. Obviously, investors are gonna balk at $1 million, because they're going to have a small share of a large budget, and other investors are going to look at 200,000 and say they can't make this movie for 200,000. I'm not going to invest in it. So we believe we can, but they won't. So somewhere in there, is there some calculus in this business where you can find that magic number between 200,000 and $1 million, or whatever your spectrum is, and say that's what we're going for. That's going to be our budget, and write a budget around it.
The foreign sales agent. A foreign sales agent is a person that you go to with your package, and they actually represent you to the different territories. They will take your film to Cannes, American Film Market, and they will sell it for you. They'll sell France for $1 million, Japan for 200,000, you know, and they go to each buyer in each territory, and it's all split up, of course. But they know all those people, and they will.
Pre-production?
What?
They'll do that during pre-production?
They do it before you even hire your actors. You go to them with, you say, listen, how about George Clooney in this production? How about this? And they'll tell you, no, don't get him, get this guy. This Steven Seagal will actually get you more out of Indonesia than George Clooney will. They'll give you information like that. Now, can you just call them up on the phone? It's hard. You know, it's hard to get them to take your call. It's hard to look at your package. You need to be a veteran. But there are people, like there's a company in LA called Voltage, and they really have voltage. They will really look. They really know their business. They can look at a package and tell you right away what it would take, what it will bring in the international marketplace. And then they'll say, you know what? Instead of that actor, if you get this actor, you would bring, you know, $1 million more. And so everybody that's really doing, people in the business that do this for a living, they go out and they get estimates before they book the talent. See? And the way it's done is you go out and you get estimates from the foreign sales agent, which is a list. This is, listen, we'll give you $5 million. We think you can get $5 million or $20 million or $50 million, whatever, for your package. Then you go back to your investor. And so they're going to get $5 million. You go back to your investor, and you essentially get the money from your investor because you've got a good estimate for what the movie will sell for. And that's what most people don't do. They go make a film and then they go out and try to sell it. And that's why 70% of the movies don't make their money back, because they didn't do that. They didn't go out and you work backwards. You go out and see what's it going to sell for, and from reputable sources, and then you go to investor.
Are you only talking about, I'm sorry.
No,
No, that's
but
okay.
maybe-
That's one more question. I want to bring back the topic back to Mr. Deutsch.
I'm sorry, I got carried
Budgets
No,
away.
that's quite all right.
We're talking budgets over, let's say, a couple million to even farther when you're talking about bankable, close to million.
Well, they probably wouldn't be concerned about you if you got a project for 200 grand. You're probably not gonna have bankable stars in your movie if your budget's only 200 grand. So you've gotta have a substantial, this is for a substantial production.
So Cal, this is back to you. On your model, you're saying you're primarily going after the K through 12 school population.
Initially, not primarily, but it's
Okay.
just right now, that's what we're executing against right now.
And I'm just curious, I apologize, I may have missed what you said, but how will you profit from that, knowing that, I have kids in the public school district and the California state budgets are,
That's why
Crazy.
we're falling on very receptive ears right now. So I'm coming forth with a package that says I can help each school raise an additional $20,000 to $30,000 a year. It's not quite enough to save a teacher per school, but it's still enough to make a material difference, an extra $30,000. And it's just through running a maybe once a month or twice a month Friday night movie night for the kids. So again, it's providing content and then having the entire framework for legally acquiring the license of the film, using our framework for ticketing, for monetizing, for tracking, and most of the money goes to them. Right now in our pilot phase, we're actually doing 100% pass-through, so the gross revenue minus expenses, I'm passing to the pilot schools that are participating. So we're sort of nailing it right now, but then we're going to open it up and do a PR thing and get it out to more schools. But I think 30,000, even potentially more, is a pretty good thing. I think the next event we're going to do is probably going to gross about $2,000 just for one night. So.
You might that the Eventbrite, which you did the booking on tonight, is one of the hottest, fastest growing companies right in the Bay Area. And so all the VCs are looking at that model.
What is it again?
Eventbrite. Right? So what's going to happen is there's going to be a lot of VCs coming in. You're funding companies like this, trying to figure out niche markets to do the platform, to do event booking. So there's going to be a plethora of platforms to book your screenings, but it requires you to go out and do your homework and then get their organizations to sponsor the events.
if anybody's interested, this past San Francisco Business Times just had an article on Eventbrite. So.
And I've talked to the CEO of Eventbrite. So Eventbrite is the generic platform that for anybody can create events. So we want to be Eventbrite, but strategically our objective is actually to become a movie theater chain without brick and mortar. So the economics of distribution are just radically different than what you look at with megaplexes, because it's a broken system because they are losing money on the film but making it up by selling you stale popcorn. It's just, how about creating a system where you make money on the film and it's a win-win for the venue as well as for the